Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. We have an update on this situation with BAFTA and the BBC. Well, sometimes people watch and learn what people are saying and how they feel. And that is exactly what John Davidson did, the man that have Tourette's syndrome. He went online and he said he didn't like what white people were saying to black people. He was quite upset. White people were all over the internet telling black people to forget about an apology. This man had Tourette's syndrome and he didn't need to apologize for using the N word. He disagreed and said he does not support what racist white people are saying on the internet. And he decided to come out and apologize to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. He said even though he's got Tourette syndrome, it did not excuse using the N word. So he has since issued an apology. And, and he was saying those white people online don't represent him. He did not feel comfortable with what happened. So, he did apologize. So we're going to get into that, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Here were your comments right there. So I do have a video, and I already showed how people were responding. And of course, it went right down racial lines like it always does. It doesn't matter if you are a handicapped person or you have a Tourette syndrome. When you do something wrong, the right thing to do is apologize for it. Because there are white people on here that act like if you got something wrong with you, you don't have to apologize. That's a load of BS. That's a load of BS. You do. So, no, he can't help it, but shouting out the N word to somebody is wrong. I don't care whether you're a healthy person or somebody that's sick. That mess is wrong. So, one thing I do like about us, we are no longer accepting things that we accepted before in the past. We are now standing up and speaking out, and I'm glad we are doing that now. And people are not just sitting back making up excuses for accepting bad behavior from people. So let's get into it. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
In Britain's big night to celebrate art and culture, with royalty mixing with the Hollywood elite, Instead is mired in controversy this morning, the BBC apologising to BAFTA viewers after several obscene outbursts from Tourette's activist John Davidson were heard on a broadcast. Davidson is the inspiration for the movie I Swear, which was nominated for 6 awards and took home the leading actor BAFTA. He was diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome at the age of 12. It's a neurological condition that can cause involuntary movements and vocal tics, sometimes involving outbursts of inappropriate language. One such outburst heard on the broadcast was while Cinestars Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
A racial slur could be heard while the men presented the award for Best Visual Effects. Jordan and Lindo looked startled, but continued on. Host Alan Cumming later asking the audience for their understanding.
You may have heard some strong and offensive language tonight. Tourette's syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette's syndrome has no control over their language. We apologize if you were offended.
I feel truly sorry for what happened at the BAFTA ceremony. I want to be clear, I had absolutely no racist intent. I've spent my whole life trying to challenge prejudice, not contribute to it. Living with Tourette's for over 30 years, I know firsthand what it feels like to be misunderstood and labelled. Because of that, I would never knowingly hurt any community or stand behind any form of discrimination. I really hope people won't judge me or the Tourette's community based on this one incident. Tourette's isn't acting out and it's not trying to offend. It's a neurological condition that deserves understanding and compassion. The words or actions that may seem shocking are not who we are. They're symptoms we don't have control over. I hope that through the film I Swear, more people might take a moment to learn about Tourette's and get to know our community a little better. We're just like everyone else. We want respect, we want understanding. And we don't want to feel ashamed of something we never chose and can't control. Finally, I want to once again offer my heartfelt apology to anyone who was hurt or offended.
I acknowledge I was wrong. I sincerely apologise to Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo, and everyone offended by my outburst last night. My behaviour at the awards ceremony was unacceptable. While driven by the neurological impulses of Tourette's syndrome, the hurtful words were spoken in a solemn setting and the harm they caused is real. I take full responsibility. I have lived with Tourette's since age 5, mocked on the streets, misunderstood in school, and marginalised as an adult. I know the pain words can inflict. Yet last night, I was the one causing that pain, and it hurts me deeply. This soul trapped in a body anguish has tormented me for over 50 years, but it is not an excuse. I cannot call for understanding while ignoring the impact of my symptoms. I know an apology cannot undo the words nor demand forgiveness. I will not stop at it's the condition. I will communicate, listen, and work with my medical team and the organisers to prevent this from happening again. I will show through my actions that the John who said in 1989, "I'm not crazy," still stands for kindness and respect. I ask that people not let my body's loss of control overshadow a lifetime devoted to equality and dignity.
That is a very good point, because I do see John Davidson is an adult. Not only is he an adult, he's an adult white man with white privilege. And he has Tourette's syndrome. And he's a seasoned Tourette's syndrome advocate. So I hope he's not going to stand aside and let the community, let the POC community defend him. I hope he's not going to stand aside and just let this thing slide, because himself, as a white advocate, a seasoned white advocate, needs to foremost come out and explain himself. He can do an apology to everybody, or he can do a very thorough explanation, explain the whole event, explain his own tics, explain his own journey, right? He needs to personally call out BBC and the institution for their failure in organizing in the right way. So no, 100%, you're right. I do understand the heat. And as strong as the way I advocate, as strong, as harsh as the way I give support for the community. But when I see hypocrisy, I will call all that shit in a fucking second. So this ain't over. This ain't over. I'll be watching this. If John Davidson chooses to hide behind the community and don't say a word, I'm going to come out equally with strong words and blast his obvious fucking white privilege. And he needs to do something about it. This is the perfect opportunity, especially in this current intense world geopolitical tension we're feeling. We need someone like him to come out and speak about this, and not just let the community defend him. Corporalia is spoken text that's obscene, but there's also echolalia, corporapraxia. There's also people who do obscene touching. That's even more offensive in this age with Epstein going on. That's even more of an action that's difficult to explain. So really, for the community to come out and speak for him, I hope he sees this, and I hope he feel grateful the fact that community foremost come out to speak on his behalf, and he need to come out and get a public statement ASAP.
There is a statement. But first, BAFTA finally issues an apology unreservedly. So it's much more than if you were offended. They acknowledge the harm this caused, they talk about what happened, and they apologize to all. You can read the full apology in The Hollywood Reporter. John Davidson also then released a statement. I wanted to thank BAFTA and everyone involved in the awards last night for their support and understanding and inviting me to attend the broadcast. I appreciated the announcement to the auditorium in advance of the recording, warning everyone that my tics are involuntary and are not a reflection of my personal beliefs. I was heartened by the round of applause that followed this announcement and felt welcomed and understood in an environment that would normally be impossible for me. In addition to the announcement by Alan Cumming, the BBC, and BAFTA, I can only add that I am and always have been deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional or to carry any meaning. I was in attendance to celebrate the film of my life, I swear, which more than any film or TV documentary explains the origins, condition traits, and manifestations of Tourette syndrome. I have spent my life trying to support and empower the Tourette's community and to teach empathy, kindness, and understanding from others, and I will continue to do so. I chose to leave the auditorium early into the ceremony as I was aware the distress my tics were causing. His movie is called I Swear, and it stars Robert Aramayo, who actually won Best Actor last night. This is who he was up against, and he had a very emotional speech. So there you go. There were some apologies, some statements. Clearly, this is a very hot topic. It's very complicated, and some commenters were saying that we should all have more empathy for John, imagine what he's feeling, which I completely agree with. Also imagine what Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo, Hannah Beachler, and many, many others were also feeling. Empathy goes both ways. And although Tourette's takes away the bad intent of the words, it doesn't just magically erase the harm of hearing that word out loud.
So this is his apology. Because all y'all on the, he didn't mean it. His intent wasn't there. Intent matters. And, if you look at the intent, don't be mad, N-words, that he called you an N-word, because he's not racist, his intent. But even in his apology, he could not even call out the people that he knows he harmed. And the crazy part about it is this is an intelligent man. I mean, he has a whole movie about him. He's been an advocate for Tourette's. The whole point of the movie was to, highlight Tourette's. So he's not unintelligent. He knows who these two people are. So why was nothing in this stating, I am sorry to Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan and all of the Black people that were in the audience that had to hear this, and the Black people I said it to at the dinner, and all of the things and all the places that he said it? Why weren't those things named? Instead, it's an excuse for his involuntary tics. It's an excuse. The apology is not an apology. It's a, hey, I know I called you the N-word, but this is why. As opposed to saying, I have this condition, as you all know, it makes me say things, but I'm deeply sorry to these people for harming them. I'm deeply sorry for the pain that this has caused on a marginalized community that has been burdened with this word for hundreds upon hundreds of years. He said none of that. And you know why? Because he ain't sorry. And y'all need to realize, like I said before, you can still be disabled and still be racist. And he can say it's not his intent or his personal beliefs. But when you actually can't out your mouth say, I'm sorry, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo and all of the Black people that were in the audience and had to hear that, I apologize for saying those words, even though it was involuntary, then you don't mean it. And I need y'all to miss me with the whole, we don't understand Tourette's. We understand it just fine. We also understand racism better than any of y'all ever could. So y'all trying to tell us what racism is, you can kick rocks with that, because you can't tell people who experience racism what racism is when you never experienced it in your life. And don't forget, white people don't experience racism. So get out the comments with that shit. He ain't sorry.
Yesterday, I called for John Davidson to apologize to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo for his actions at the 2026 BAFTAs. You may not have said it intentionally, but you still said it, and you owe Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo a public apology the way you publicly called them. I was called ableist, and I was called not understanding of Tourette's syndrome in the comments section. Two things that are not true. So I'm going to tell you guys something that I never ever disclosed on my social media pages, and that's because I don't like this defining me as a person or a creator. But when I was 7 to 8 years old, I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which, while it's not the same thing as Tourette's syndrome, it's underneath the same umbrella of a neurological disorder. So yes, I am very familiar with disabilities and how they work because I fall under the ADA. Now, I say all this to say, when I was younger, really in middle school from 6th to 8th grade, I was given an IEP teacher. IEP stands for Individualized Educational Program. Now, this is for people who have learning disabilities and need additional help in schooling. But also during my time in middle school, I was put into a resource room throughout certain times of the week. The resource room is basically where people with, and I know this may be a dated term, so I apologize if I offend anybody, but this is what it was called, special needs, were placed into this class so that way they can all be in the same area and catch up on their schoolwork. In this classroom, I had a kid, I don't remember his name, but he had Tourette's syndrome. And similar to John Davidson, he suffered from coprolalia, which is when you say things involuntarily. We actually had a very important lesson on Tourette's syndrome at some point in 7th grade because of this kid, and so we could better understand him. During class, sometimes he would shout words that were very inappropriate, and at certain times, I remember him saying the F word, the F-A-G word, and the R word. Now, this kid would also shout out words like fuck and shit and dick and all this type of, all these other words. And he never apologized for that. And no one in the classroom really expected him to. But when he would say the R word or the F word, and thankfully he never said the N word, he did apologize for that. No teacher forced him, no assistant forced him, nobody forced him to. He would. The teacher even said one time, you don't have to apologize for that. And he insisted that he does because words hurt people, and that's what his parents told him. Disabilities vary, right? My ADHD is not the same severity as someone with Tourette's syndrome. I understand that. And I said this multiple times in a video. I understand that John Davidson has a disorder. He has a disability that causes him to say things involuntarily. I did not call him racist because I don't know him. He may not be racist at all. And I also said that people who have Tourette's syndrome shouldn't have to hide and shouldn't have to stay away from the public areas because of their disability. That's not right. And that is ableism. Because of my ADHD, I say that sometimes my mouth moves faster than my brain does because my brain doesn't always filter what I say exactly when I say it. And if I say something that offends somebody and I know good and well that's not how I meant for it to come out, I apologize. I have done this multiple times to friends, family, strangers, because that is just what I feel like I owe. Because when you unintentionally cause harm to somebody, you should apologize, whether you did it voluntarily or involuntarily. I believe that he did not intentionally mean to call Delroy Lindo, Michael B. Jordan. That being said, he still did it. And I don't appreciate this notion that I am seeing from certain white people that just because this was done unintentionally, that Black people need to have understanding and not take offense to it. Do not ask the Black community to have understanding of the situation in which they were marginalized, but then not acknowledge the fact that they were actually attacked during this whole scenario, because I see a lot of comments asking for understanding, but not understanding of the victims that were in this situation. It is common decency that if you cause unintentional harm to someone, that you should apologize for it, whether you meant it or not. You said one word that caused harm to 2 men on that stage and to many who were offended by your actions. All you need to say is 3 words. I am sorry. I don't really think that's too hard to ask. Your disability does not prevent you from voluntarily saying things. And some of the analogies I saw in the comments were absolute bullshit. One of the analogies I saw is that if someone with epilepsy drops glass and breaks it, should they have to apologize? Let's not compare the feelings of black people to inanimate objects, I don't think your analogy works at all in this situation. Let me give you a real analogy that actually works. Let's say you're driving a car because you're in control of the vehicle that you're behind. While you're driving this car, you're drinking a bottle of water. You drop this bottle of water, it falls underneath your brake. You cannot stop your car. You are no longer in control of the vehicle. In the midst of you no longer being in control of your vehicle, you accidentally hit somebody. You don't kill them, you don't severely injure them, but you still hurt this person. As soon as you hit this person, the water comes from behind your brake and now you can stop your vehicle. Would you then decide to keep driving because, well, I hit them by accident and I didn't mean to hit them. I can control the vehicle, so I'm going to keep going. Or would you get out of the car, check on the person you hit, and apologize for hitting them? If you answered A, that shows the true person you are and the kind of character you present yourself to be. So I do apologize if my comments came off as ableist because that was not my intent. You see how hard that was? Wasn't hard at all. But what I will say on top of that, John Davidson, you still owe Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo public apologies, or at the very least a private apology. But you still should apologize for your actions. If you choose not to, you're well within your right to do so. But don't expect sympathy, empathy, or understanding from anybody who is black in this situation. That's all I'm going to say about that.
John David apologized for what happened at BAFTA 2026. After the shocking moment at the BAFTAs, he said he was deeply mortified if anyone believed the racial slur he shouted was intentional. He stressed that his words were caused by involuntary tics due to Tourette syndrome and do not reflect his personal beliefs in any way. Davidson thanked BAFTA and the BBC for supporting him. He said the audience had been warned beforehand that his tics are uncontrollable, and he felt welcomed after they applauded. He also revealed that he chose to leave the ceremony early because he realized his tics were causing distress. He added that he has spent his life supporting the Tourette's community and promoting empathy and understanding, and he will continue to do so. During the broadcast, host Alan Cumming apologized to viewers for any offense caused. The incident has since sparked a wider conversation about awareness and understanding of Tourette syndrome. Reports said there were a few other loud disruptions during the show as well. Even though the explanation was given, the incident has sparked major debate online about live events, accountability, and awareness around neurological conditions.
And wrong. Why the fuck do y'all not know what apologies are for? Why the fuck do y'all not know what apologies are for? Why the fuck do y'all think involuntarily causing harm means that no apology is needed? Apologies are for when you cause harm and want to make amends for harm caused. It doesn't matter if it was involuntary. It doesn't fucking matter if it was involuntary. Why the fuck do y'all not know that you apologize when you cause harm? Even kindergartners are expected to apologize when they cause harm. Even if, shocker, shocker, you don't actually mean to do it or if it was involuntary. Even if a kindergartner involuntarily knocks over their classmate and that classmate starts crying, that kindergartner is expected to apologize to their classmate that they involuntarily harmed. Taking accountability for harm that you caused is something that we expect kindergartners to do. Why are y'all incapable of doing that when it involves disability? Why do y'all infantilize disabled people more like to a point below kindergartners? We expect better of kindergartners. What is wrong with y'all?
Yeah, after this happened, there was a big back and forth online between us and, the usual white community. And, the message that I'm getting from our people is stop expecting us to accept being called the N word and act like we just go on with life. And our people are pushing back and saying no. Mm-hmm. Chocolate. So, and I get it. Even, and I agree, even handicapped people can do things wrong. So, this is where it stands. So this is just the latest update on it. So the bottom line is it caused a lot of pain. But see, my problem is really with the BBC. They aired it. instead of editing that whole segment out. They didn't have to air it, and they aired it because they didn't give a crap. They didn't give a crap of how it impacted our community. They could care less. So, I mean, he apologized, okay, but the BBC and BAFTA, nah, I still hold y'all responsible because this thing was pre-recorded, which means it was no excuse for you to air it with the N word in it. So, no, you know, no, I'm sorry. Well, they're claiming they did, but no, their apology falls short. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here and be on the lookout for my upcoming lives, and again, thank you for your support. Shalom, family.